Here we go again. Welcome back to...
Number 20, I think.
Is it?
Yes, I
How do
think
you know
so.
that?
Because I looked yesterday and it was number 19. So this, I think, is 20th edition.
I was going to say, I know that today is April the 22nd.
Correct. But it's the 20th.
And I know
Sure.
that because tomorrow is my birthday.
Well, we know that too.
From the newspapers. Well, it's great to have you back. Andy and myself, still, we say this a lot, socially distanced, as you can see, despite the fact that we're now inside of his apartment rather than out, because it's getting warmer outside. That's the first problem.
Very
And
warm.
secondly, it's a little noisy out there. There's some construction work going on opposite. League 1 and 2 clubs are set to back a regional split. Back to the old days.
You're joking. North and South.
There's one team currently playing football that has played in all 5 football leagues. Do you know which one it is?
Currently still in league.
Yes?
Somebody like Luton.
No. Well, Luton are very heavily in the south. You've got to think more Midlands, haven't you?
What, Villa?
No.
Leicester?
Coventry.
Wow.
Played in the north and the south leagues.
You can't play North and South.
Yeah, we have. We were in both at different times.
Oh, see, that's typical of Coventry. You're
Clubs-
no good in either, so you went in both.
Clubs in Leagues 1 and 2 believe the competitions may need to be regionalised so they have a better chance of staying afloat.
Actually,
I think it's a good idea.
can I tell you something? I agree with that 100%, Richard.
Yeah.
What is the point of somebody in the south coast going up to play Hartlepool?
None.
What's the point?
Exeter going to play Carlisle.
Yeah, there you go. There's no point. I think that's a fantastic idea. And if this horrendous virus spurs that on, I think it's a good idea.
Absolutely. Crystal Palace, I'm staying with the historical theme, Crystal Palace are staking a claim to be recognised as the oldest league club in existence after new research suggested they were established in 1861, not 1905, which we currently believe to be the case. If proven, it would mean the Premier League side are a year older than Notts County,
I was going to say.
who now play their football, of course, in the National League.
No, sorry. You ain't getting that, Palace. Sorry.
Mesut Ozil in isolation.
Is he?
Pay cut
more ways than
rebel
one, by the
Mesut.
way. And by the way, more ways than one, he's in isolation.
Well, yeah.
I know. You're sympathetic
Well, let me give you the...
to the man who's earning £350,000
Let me give you the
pounds a week.
No, I don't. You know my view on that. I think it's obscene. It's wrong. I think if this, when we come beyond the coronavirus issues that we have, football settles down into a more realistic state.
Yes.
Fine. But right now, that contract was offered. It's signed. It's legal. I read from the Daily Telegraph here. Arsenal players feel they were pressurised into taking pay reductions. Now that's not right.
Well, why should they feel pressurised?
Shouldn't
they volunteer it? Come on.
Well, yes, if they were volunteering.
Let's think about it. Let's think about the normal football supporter. Because these are the most important people. The people who go and watch their team every week. The vast majority of them, right, will never earn $350,000 in a life.
You're echoing the thoughts I mentioned here in week 1.
In a lifetime. They'll never earn that. So why should the players feel pressurised? Mesut Ozil. Does Mesut Ozil, if he never earned another penny in his life from today, would he struggle?
No.
No, he wouldn't. Exactly. So
But
come on.
if you offer legal documents and we are to abide by them...
This is different, Richard.
Then
It's not legality. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with realising the situation we're in, realising where the world is, not just the UK or anywhere, but realising where the world is. Do I want to try and do something to ease the plight of whoever? It might be Arsenal. We don't know. Arsenal might be struggling. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I think I know which club it is that are struggling. We mentioned it the other day. You said, who do I think it is? I said Arsenal. Wrong.
Yeah. What, 9 million a week wage bill?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Liverpool.
You're joking. 9 million a week.
Liverpool.
Wow.
Newcastle United.
What's your favourite topic?
Amnesty International have called for the Premier League to reject the proposed Saudi takeover of Newcastle United. Now, that's one issue. And I said to you the other day, we should never try to impose Western principles upon any other society in the world. That's just not the case. So, discount Yemen, Khashoggi, and all those things. Doesn't matter. What does matter is when you are the host and you invite in a situation such as this, then I think you have a right to make the rules. And I follow up by telling you that from The Guardian today, beIN Sports, us, has asked the Premier League to block the Saudi bid for Newcastle United as a result of the piracy that I mentioned the other day. Yusuf Al-Obaidi, our governor, has written to every Premier League chairman and the Premier League to say, look, this just isn't right. And it isn't right. Whatever Newcastle United fans think or are getting excited about because they think they might just about to become the world's richest club, it is wrong that the Saudis were able, and it was a government-backed piracy operation. So that means everybody at the top end of the Saudi government knew what was happening, and it continues to be the case that our sports rights, ours, that we spent 500 million on, that was the cost of the last deal, are being stolen. Not just re-shown in another country, but there are set-top boxes, there are subscription cards, they're underselling us in terms of the cost price, and they're selling ads around the subject. Now, in the letter that Al-Obaidi has sent, he is saying, and quite rightly, the crippling economic effect that the coronavirus is having on the sports industry, this is all happening at a time when football clubs need to protect their broadcast revenue the most.
Yes, absolutely.
Agreed?
100%.
He says, the direct role of Saudi Arabia in the launch, promotion and operation of the Be Out Q service and the challenge the Premier League itself has faced, will continue to face in taking any action to protect its own intellectual property rights in the country, is just not on.
No, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Well said, Yusuf.
And I hope the Premier League take that and listen to it and look at it. And whether they do, Richard, I don't know. But
there is one way out of this. There is one way out of this, and it might be that it suits everybody. I know for a fact there is another bid on the table, and there has been for some time. I thought it would come to a conclusion at Christmas. I thought it might come to a conclusion early in the new year.
I bid for Newcastle?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I said to you the other day, the one thing that Mike Ashley has not done is comment on this speculation surrounding the current bid. Said nothing. I still believe he would prefer the other bid to come to a successful conclusion. The Saudis, I think, have got 2 weeks exclusivity left.
Yes, sir.
And then watch and wait for developments. But in the meantime, I think absolutely right that the point has been made.
No question should be asked, Richard. It's far too easy just to say, let's take the money and run and forget about them, stealing rights for 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah.
Not just a year, 2 years.
I wanted to talk to you about Wayne Rooney's article in the Sunday Times last week, The Art of Scoring Goals. I mentioned it briefly the other day. Opening paragraph was, I'm going to be honest, this is Wayne, and this might surprise you. No, it didn't, Wayne. I'm not a natural goal scorer. We know. What is a natural goal scorer?
I don't know. I'm going to ask you that. What's your vision of a natural goal scorer? As a football supporter, if I was to say to you, who's the most natural goal scorer you've seen in the 30 odd years you've been doing this job?
Lineker.
Not manufactured?
No, if England needed a goal, 9 times out of 10, you could. Yeah. Did he contribute anything else? No.
Yeah.
Is that age-old phrase? He's only a goal scorer.
He's only scored goals.
It's the most difficult thing to do on a football pitch.
Yeah.
But would you rather have? Having mentioned him, I can only give you the example of the Everton team that you left, were part of, won the title, won the Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah.
Gary scored 44 goals the following year in that same team. They won nothing.
No, that's true. No.
He left, and the year after that, Heath and Sharp were back together.
Yeah, they were.
Team players.
Yeah.
And they went on and won the title again. So, do you accommodate a natural goal scorer at the cost of team ethic?
No, a goal scorer. The word natural is it's the one that kind of throws you. What do you mean by natural? Do you mean that he would just, if he was out in a park with his mates, he would still be doing it, bang, 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 ball would come, finish it. If he was training with his mates.
Rooney, you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about any natural. I'm talking about natural. What is it? What does the word natural mean? I've always said, I watched one and played with the other for Scotland, that I thought were, when you gave them a football, when you threw it to them on the edge of the box or in the penalty area, it just came natural to them. They never had to work at it. They gave me the impression they didn't have to work at it. Robbie Fowler was one at Liverpool, and Charlie Nicholas was the other.
Yeah.
Certainly when he was at Celtic.
But when you looked, and we did a little research, you mentioned that to me before we started to record the programme. You look at Charlie's goal scoring record at Arsenal.
No, I know.
It was hopeless.
I know. No, it wasn't not hopeless. It's
1 in 4.
It's not as good as it might have been, right? But you're saying to me, natural. When the ball came to him, yes, it was part of him. And he just bang, 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 they finished. people like me had to work really hard to get a goal. I had to work extremely hard to get a goal. It didn't come, it's wrong to say it didn't come naturally. I was going to say it didn't come naturally. Scoring goals did, but I had to work really hard at it.
Okay, let me read on then. Maybe this will help you.
Go on.
Rooney again. I always wanted to score. Bear in mind, he's Manchester United's leading ever.
Yes.
And England. But I've loved the game more than the individual stuff, he says. My favourite players to watch were Paul Scholes and Xavi. I get more joy out of splitting a defence with a pass than from any goals I ever scored.
No, I get that. I mean, I was very much a team player, and I've always said to you, and you couldn't work out you couldn't quite comprehend what I was saying. If I created a goal for someone, I got as much joy, not more. I got as much joy from that. I did. Seriously, I did.
There's nothing like that unique feeling.
Listen, if somebody would flip a ball to me and I flipped it around the corner to Graham Sharp and he smashed it in the net, I would be absolutely ecstatic.
But you'd rather have smashed it in the net?
Well, yeah, I'd rather. But I got as much joy from that. Where Wayne is, the difference between Wayne and a lot of people is, Ian Rush played where he plays, yes?
Yeah, 9.
Right. Alan Shearer played where he plays.
Right, I'm going to get onto that in a minute.
Right. These people, Lineker played where he played. All genuine goal scorers. Wayne was more of a footballer than a goal scorer.
Right, so he goes on to say, just 2 of my 13 seasons at Manchester United were as a number 9, right? And this is extraordinary. And I scored 34 goals in both campaigns.
Yeah, you did, I remember
operating as a 9.
We talked about it often on TV. Wayne Rooney's best possession, remember?
Yes.
We sat, not here, but we sat in positions and we debated the fact that why doesn't he get played up top end of the pitch more often? Yeah.
But he didn't enjoy it as much as playing 10. He said, I would play a 10 to Van Nistelrooy's 9.
Yes.
And Sir Alex Ferguson used to talk to me about defending. He said, without the ball, I'd drop in and become the 5th midfield man.
Yeah.
Okay. Ruud and I would then try to squeeze a team from one side of the pitch to the other. So
yeah, absolutely.
Keep the press before the press was invented.
Yeah, keep them there.
Yeah. But he also says that working with a 9, and this is movement. He said, I would watch, here we go. The trick is to decide on your movements depending on what the number 9 is doing. I'd watch Ruud's run in front of me and make my own run off the back of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. See, the thing about, there was that phrase about being a centre forward, he led the line, right? He leads the line. He leads it. He does. He makes decisions. What his decisions are influences who's playing around him.
9.
Yeah.
That's when Souness would talk about Rush springing the press in their day.
Yes.
If he went, they all went.
What do you think Harry Kane is? Here's one. Here's England's premier striker at the moment. What is he?
I think he's a proper 9.
Is he a Rush?
No.
Is he a Shearer?
I think he's a Shearer. I think he's a 9. I wish he'd wear 9, not 10 at Tottenham. I think he is a proper number 9. Good movement, says Rooney, is about the split second, making eye contact with your teammates, knowing their game. For instance, if I was a number 9 and Scholes or Giggs had the ball, I'd try and go in behind every time because Scholes could find me.
Yes, 100%.
And Giggsy, you had that delicate little touch which would open up defences by just dinking one over the top. So it is about partnerships and it is about knowing those around and about.
It certainly used to be, and even in Wayne's days at Manchester United, it was still about partnerships. He talked about Van Nistelrooy, etc. That kind of partnership. We see that less and less in the modern game. Fewer teams play one-off-one at the top end of the pitch. Fewer do. And more is a pity for me because I think it's an incredibly difficult thing to defend against. But Wayne, you're right about Wayne. Wayne was, if you said to Wayne, where would you rather play? He would say, I'd like to play off the front, in the hole, whatever you want to call it, between the lines. And if you said to Van Nistelrooy, where are you going to play? He'd say, I'm up top. I'm right up against the 2 centre-backs. That would be me. I had a guy called Brian Little. I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago. Who, when I first came to Villa, Brian Little was the perfect partner for me because he did not want to do what I did.
But you couldn't play in the hole.
I couldn't play with Brian Little. Played no chance.
No
chance. I couldn't. Well, I could pick a pass, but I didn't want to. I wanted to be on the end of things.
What about when the ball's at your foot? I've often said to you, the only person that knows exactly what you had to do in that Cup Winners' Cup final is Sharp cuts the ball back, and it's bouncing, and you can see the goal. There's only you. We all see it from the camera.
Yeah.
Only you know what was happening at that time, and you always said, "Well, you know, I didn't really think about it.
I didn't.
It's just instinct."
I didn't.
Well, you see, Rooney here says, I always remember saying to Danny Welbeck, Danny, when you go through, every time you shoot, you're falling over. Steady yourself. Slow yourself down.
Yeah.
So actually, you do have to think about it.
Yeah, that on those occasions you do. That I would say. What kind of percentage? I haven't even thought about this, but I would say that 80% of the goals you score as a front man are instinctive, right? You get maybe 1-2 touches max.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yep.
Occasionally you'll run from the halfway line and get through. Those are the most difficult chances for me. I found them the most difficult chances because as you were running towards goal and the goalkeeper was coming out, you were making decisions. Your mind was going like that. Do I dink it? Do I set him down? Do I go round him? All these decisions. But the vast majority of your chances would be the ball comes in the penalty area and you go one touch to steady it, next to finish, or you finish it first time. Dion Dublin, one of the best first touch finishers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
One of the best. Dion would say, how did I do that? I don't know. It was instinctive. So when that Cup Winners' Cup final, when Graham Sharp chipped that ball back and had taken the goalkeeper out, and I've got an open goal. I mean, it sounds simple, doesn't it? I've got an open goal and it's dropping at me on the volley. And I'm thinking, the only thing I did think was don't mess it up. I knew I had one touch. I didn't think I would get two. If I thought I'd get two, Richard, I'd have taken it with my left foot because I was left-footed. I would have cushioned it and then just rolled it in. But I didn't think I'd get that time. And I didn't know if my touch was going to be secure enough to keep the ball with me and finish it off. And it was 0-0 at the time. So I thought, concentrate. And as it come, it was just instinctive. The ball was there and I went bang. And before I knew it, it was arguably the sweetest volley I'd ever made.
Isn't it remarkable that the mind can have so many thoughts
in
that instantaneous moment?
You know, I've always thought about. Remember that game we did? I think you and I did it when Chelsea played Barcelona. Was it?
And
was it Torres?
Games,
remember Torres?
Yeah. When he went through.
When he went through from the halfway line.
Yeah.
Remember he had a torrid time.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you, in those 40 metres he ran with the football, I guarantee you, so much was going through his head. And then, but when he got to the edge of the penalty area, instinct took over. What he was good at took over immediately.
So between there and the edge of the box,
he's thinking,
now
right,
yeah.
And then when he got there, when the goalkeeper was that close to him, he went bang. Instinct took over, went round him and rolled it in.
This section is called Tricks of the Trade. Rooney says, you learn little things along the way. The best advice I received was from Fergie. He said, you're working too hard.
Yes. How many times have you heard me say that about a centre forward?
Why did he say that?
That's what I said about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, remember?
Yeah, I'll tell you why he says you're working too hard, because Rooney says I could go for 90 minutes and in the last 10 I'd be tired of that 90.
Yeah.
And Fergie would say, save yourself, because the chance you're going to get today might not arrive until the 90th minute, and I want you fresh enough to take it.
Correct.
Very sensible.
He's 100% right. I've always said that about, if you watch the very best of the Linekers, the Shearers, you know, everybody worked hard, Richard, the goal scorers, but they didn't overlook. Look at Thierry Henry, right? We talk about Thierry Henry reinvented playing up front.
Yes.
Yeah? And the way he did. But when Arsenal lost the ball, you very rarely saw Thierry Henry back in his own half or back in the edge of his own box defending. Ronaldo. Yeah, why? Well, that was quite simple. Because when you get the ball back, you want your front man to be fresh and be able to, from 1 minute to the 90th minute, be able to do it. Fergie was absolutely right with Wayne. It wasn't a problem, it was admirable. It was part of his character.
I remember
Wayne wanted to run all over the pitch.
I remember Mark Hughes saying to us that when Mark was getting to the end of his career when he went to Chelsea, and Hullet said to him, stop running about.
Yes.
I just want you to make your movement in and around the width of the box. Don't stray outside those lines. Forget the channels. Stay there. And that's good advice.
It's great advice. And that's what Wayne did. When you're struggling a little bit as well, sometimes you think that if I'm not getting the goals, so I want to work as hard as I can to help the team. I did that. Went through some spells where I wasn't scoring. I thought, right, I better work more. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in this team. And you do tend to overdo it instead of saying, right, focus. And you need someone like a Fergie. You need someone like your coach or your players to say, listen, stop, don't do that.
Relax.
Just relax. I said to you about that Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the first thing I'd say to him is, Dominic, stop chasing fullbacks. Yeah. Stay there. I want you to do what you do.
When asked my favourite goal, I always say the overhead kick against City at the derby.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought Newcastle.
But he said the craft of goal scoring is also about teamwork, movement, control and timing. And a goal that probably few people remember, he says, but it sticks out for me. It came against Wigan when Raphael crossed from the right. My timing was literally perfect. I got across the centre-back, got a nick on the ball, and the keeper had no chance. And he said, anticipation really is important, knowing when the keeper is going to spill or when a defender is going to head it without enough power. Yeah. That's a crucial factor then.
100%. You as a front man, that one decision he made in that game against Wigan worked beautifully for him, right? But I guarantee you, he made another 10, 15 decisions that game trying to anticipate or do the same thing that didn't work for him. I've always said that, Richard. When I played up front and I was a number 9 and people would go down the wing, whether it was whatever side it was, my job was to be proactive. I've always said that to you, haven't I? A forward has the advantage because I'm the one who's making the decision. If you're the centre-back, I can lose you all day long, right? You don't know if I'm going front, I'm going back, you don't know if I'm going to pull, I'm going to do there. My decision makes your decision. So a defender, 9 times out of 10, is reactive. Yes. He's reacting to what a front man does.
Is that why you look at the game differently? Because a lot of the modern day analysts are critical in the extreme for me because they were defenders.
Yes.
Defending is about destruction.
Yes.
Goal scoring is about creativity.
Yeah.
And looking at the goal, any goal, with a very different aspect.
You see, defenders can't mark everywhere. They can't mark everywhere. And it's a front man, a striker's job to exploit that, right? And I hear it all the time. You're right, I hear it all the time. That goal could have been stopped. Yes, of course it could. Every goal could be stopped. Every goal, there's an error somewhere. But what you have to realise is you have to look at the quality of the cross or the pass through. Then you have to look at the movement of the front man. And I don't care who the defender is, Richard. I don't care if he's the best defender in the world, right? If you get those things right, you're not going to stop a goal being scored. So why not accentuate the positive? Why not be glowing about what someone has done rather than condemning someone? Even at my age now, I guarantee you, right? If we were putting on a drill in crosses and somebody was going either side, even at my age now, I guarantee you I'd find space with somebody marking me in the penalty area because they cannot cover everything. They don't know whether to cover space or they don't know whether to mark a player. Now, defenders predominantly will mark space and open play because they have to pick a point where they're going to defend from. That gives me an advantage because he doesn't know if I'm going in front of him, he doesn't know if I'm going to pull behind him, he doesn't know if I'm going to drop off him. So I am the boss. And that's what I've always thought about great front men, great goal scorers. They're the boss. Lineker was a master at it. He was the boss. He knew what he was doing in the penalty area. He was gone. And that's the difference. And a defender, I wouldn't want to be a defender because you've got the ball, you've got him, you've got the ball, you've got him. So when do you take your eyes off the ball to find out what he is? Because you can't see both. I always used to take myself away from his line of vision. Like we've all got peripheral vision, right? I can see my hands here. I can see that. I can see my right hand and I can see that there. But if I do that, I can't. I don't know where that hand's going.
So just step off.
Step away. Take yourself out of the line of vision, out of where he can see you. And as soon as he has to turn his head, I always used to do that. When a defender turned his head to me, when Brian Little, for instance, had the ball, when he went and looked at me, that was my trigger, 9 times out of 10.
Go.
I was moving, yes. Because as soon as he did that, he didn't know where the ball was. I did. Because the only thing I'm looking at, I've got the whole picture. I've got defender, I've got the cross, I've got my teammate. I can see it all. That's my picture. His picture is ball. Where's he gone? And if he does that, his picture's me. Where's the ball? He's no idea if the ball's dropping in front of him or over him. I do. So it's a lot of that to be you can develop as a front man. And people like Lineker, Shearer.
Fowler.
Would you say Harry Kane? Van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy. He was a master craftsman, by the way. There's Ruud Van Nistelrooy. I watched some stuff on TV the other day when Van Nistelrooy was playing for Manchester United, one of their championship winning seasons. Honestly, Richard, I saw crosses come in from the right, from the left. I saw his movement, and you're thinking, wow, it was just a joy for me as doing what I did as well. I watched him, and I'm thinking, no wonder centre backs hated playing Ruud Van Nistelrooy. You don't need to be the quickest player in the world to play up front, but you need that.
Well, Teddy Sheringham proved that.
Well,
Teddy never had pace, but how clever was he?
Teddy wasn't a front man as such. No, come on. Who would you say? Who did he play with? Klinsmann? Defoe?
Yeah.
Right, there's the one. Jermaine Defoe. There's a classic front man.
We start out with 30 minutes and you say to me, what we're going to talk about?
Are we done already?
We've now got one left.
Oh, sorry.
1 or 2 highlights to look forward to going forward. Tomorrow we're going to be in the company of the best commentary team that there is on air now that Andy's hung his mic up.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I will say no more than that. Next week we're going
by
to
the
be
way,
talking...
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Next week we're going to be talking to a former Manchester United manager. I'll say no more than that. That's next Tuesday. And
I'm looking forward to that, by the way.
Interview that we've done with John Terry, Andy and myself, which I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed. It was fantastic. John talking about missing the penalty in Moscow, about kicking Alexis Sanchez and getting sent off, and putting his kit on for those photographs.
Correct.
And
he
more.
Talked about it all.
It was brilliant. Great. Absolutely brilliant, John Terry. Watch out for that. I think next Thursday that's going to air for the first time on beIN Sports. We're here every day on beIN Sports at the same time that you found us today, and for our international viewers, YouTube every day. And thank you, as I always say, very much for the feedback. We thoroughly enjoyed doing it. We want, obviously, to watch our football again.
Yes, please.
We all do. But in the meantime, this is fun, and thanks for your thoughts. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe.